Hello and welcome to Eye on Africa here on France 24. I'm Clarisse Fortuné. First, the stories making headlines across the continent. Calm returns to the DRC's eastern city of Goma. While M23 is advancing south, aid organizations are warning of an impending humanitarian crisis as basic services break down amid the fighting. And meanwhile, the Southern African Development Community held a special meeting in Zimbabwe to discuss the situation in DR Congo. And then to Kenya, where it's time to fight back after a surge in violence against women. The coup, Jukinge, Swahili for Grandma, protect yourself, learned self-defense and now train others. So we start in the DRC. Congolese troops with support from Burundi's army appeared to be holding back a push south by the M23 rebels. Meanwhile, in Goma, situation seems to have returned to normal and most businesses are reopened. But the World Food Programme warned that a lack of aid access to camps around the city means that food, water and medical supplies are running low. Brian Quinn has the details.
On the shores of Lake Kivu in the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo, this vast tent encampment, which recently housed some 300,000 internally displaced persons, is emptying out as M23 rebels strengthen their hold over the city of Goma. With basic services breaking down, aid groups are warning that the humanitarian situation is spinning out of control.
People are really running out of food, clean water, medical supplies, and that's a big concern. So the supply chain has really been strangled at the moment. If you think about land access, air access, when everything is closed down.
Most of Goma is now under M23 control. The city is a critical hub for dispersing aid to the more than 6 million people that have been displaced by the conflict. The World Food Programme says several of its warehouses in Goma have been looted, the security situation in the city making continued operations impossible. The WFP says that the conflict and an ensuing spike in food prices means that 1 in 4 people across the DRC is facing acute hunger. The DRC has accused Rwanda of waging war via its proxy, the M23, to gain control of the region's vast mineral wealth. A UN study this past summer agreed, saying that Rwanda has thousands of troops in the eastern DRC and holds de facto control over the M23.
And according to the UN, 700 people were killed in Goma since Sunday. The United Nations also voicing alarm at rampant violence, warning of summary executions and widespread rapes.
Our office has also documented cases of conflict-related sexual violence by the army and the allied Wazalendo fighters in Kalahe territory. We are verifying reports that 52 women were raped by Congolese troops in South Kivu, including alleged reports of gang rape. Additionally, DRC officials report that at least 165 women were raped by male inmates during the prison break of more than 4,000 inmates from Goma's Muzenze prison on the 27th of January, as M23 began its assault on the town.
And France is to propose a draft resolution to the UN Security Council that aims to increase the pressure on Rwanda to withdraw its troops. Also, another extraordinary summit took place this Thursday in Mozambique's capital, Harare. The Southern African Development Community announced, I quote, its unwavering commitment to DRC territorial integrity. Let's listen to Emmerson Mnangagwa, President of Zimbabwe.
While we pause to mourn our loss, our resolve to ensure collective security cannot be shaken. The importance of dialogue and the peace building for the benefit of the people of the Eastern DRC must be boldly pursued.
And what about the reactions from the international community in all of this? Michaela Wrong, journalist, gave her analysis a little bit earlier.
The international scene is fractured by self-interest, in that the Americans have long looked at Kagame as a sort of bulwark against Islamic jihadism. He's got this fantastically efficient army, which we are seeing going into action in Congo, making a laughing stock of the peacekeeping forces there, but also the Congolese army. No big surprise. This wonderful, efficient, well-equipped, superbly trained army. So the Americans count on Paul Kagame to be the policeman against Islamic jihadism. The French, as I'm sure you know, they are counting on Kagame for the same reason. They unfolded, they announced this wonderful aid package with Rwanda a year and a half ago, because the Rwandan soldiers are protecting the Total installation in Mozambique. And the Brits, here in the UK, last year, up until the elections last year, where the Conservatives lost to Labour, they were absolutely bent on sending asylum seekers to Rwanda, and Rwanda was one of the few African countries that accepted that deal. It's an incredibly densely populated country. It was the most inappropriate place in Africa to send unwanted migrants, but Rwanda was up for it. And it was a clever calculation. It ended up getting 4 asylum seekers in the end. The deal collapsed. It was cancelled by the Labour government. They got a whole load of aid money as a result. And for all the years that project was being debated, challenged in the courts here, no one in the British system would utter a word of criticism about what they could see Rwanda was doing in Congo and the support it was giving the M23. So I think Kagame has been incredibly clever, playing off these various interests, offering the West, various Western countries, exactly what they want. And the EU has certainly been co-opted as part of that, I think partly because of the French role in the EU. So at the end, there's what used to be a united front in 2012 and stopped Kagame in the M23 in its tracks. That aid suspension just hasn't been there this time.
And in other news across the continent, 2 associates of Benin's president have been sentenced to 20 years in prison. They had been arrested last year on suspicion of plotting a coup. Olivier Boko, a businessman and longtime friend of President Patrice Talon, and Oswald Homeki, a former sports minister, were found guilty of a conspiracy against state security and corruption of a public official. In addition to the 20-year sentence, the court also ordered the men to pay $95 million in damages to the Beninese state. Many South Africans were hoping it would be a thing of the past. Power cuts. Businesses and households were hit for the first time in 10 months due to breakdowns at Eskom's coal-fired power stations. An executive at the State Power Utility said 6 units had gone offline at 2 of the company's best-performing coal stations. The outages are due to last until at least midnight on Sunday, and the Energy Minister described the return of power cuts in South Africa as a temporary setback. And staying in South Africa, a daughter of former President Jacob Zuma appeared in court on terrorism charges for allegedly inciting violence that shook the country 4 years ago and left more than 350 people dead. Duduzile Zuma Zambudla, who's a member of parliament, was released on bail, while her case was moved to a higher court to continue in March. The riots had been sparked by Jacob Zuma being sent to prison for refusing to testify at an inquiry into government corruption during the time he was president from 2009 to 2018. The withdrawal of French forces from Chad are now definitive and complete. President Mahamat Idriss Déby welcomed their departure at the handover of the Kosei base with a military ceremony. He said his country was not breaking off its relationship with France, but ending the military dimension of its cooperation.
The occasion that brings us together today is extraordinary, unique and historic. Sovereignty has never been a gift. It is a conquest, the fruit of struggle, sacrifice, and constant commitment. Our ancestors fought to give us this freedom so that we could live in an independent, proud, and respected nation.
At least 97 women across Kenya were killed in femicides between August and October of last year. The surge in violence has spurred many to prepare themselves to fight back, including a group of elderly women trained in self-defense called the coup, Swahili for Grandma Protect Yourself. They are now helping others. Clémence Valère has their story.
For 25 years, women in Nairobi's Korogocho neighborhood have been learning self-defense. The classes were started by an American couple working with local residents after several women were raped and killed in the area. Today, the elderly women, who call themselves Kukujukinge, Swahili for Grandma Protect Yourself, continue to train and hope others will do the same.
They must have the will to do it, because it's up to you to come and interact with your fellow women. It really scares us to see a young woman and young children being killed. It is not a good thing.
Korogocho is an impoverished neighborhood with high crime rates. 93-year-old Mary Wanaina says the skills she learned allowed her to fight off her attacker and would-be rapist a few years ago.
I grabbed his private parts with all my strength, twisted them, and he started screaming. When people came, they caught him as he was and started beating him up.
According to some statistics, Kenya has recorded more than 7,000 cases of sexual and gender-based violence since September 2023. Between August and December of last year, 100 women were murdered by men they knew or partners, including Olympic runner Rebecca Cheptegei. Her ex-boyfriend doused her in petrol before burning her alive. According to her family, she had reported abuse to the police at least 3 times that same year. The situation has prompted the Kenyan government to set up a presidential task force, which will draw up recommendations on how to fight femicides by the end of February.
93 years old, beware the cuckoo Juking gave to conclude our edition of Eye on Africa. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more news on France 24.
Special events. France 24 joins the Artificial Intelligence Action Summit for a special day of in-depth coverage. From our news bulletins to magazine programs, we explore how AI is reshaping our world and the challenges it presents. How is AI transforming our daily lives? How can we safeguard against its risks? A full day dedicated to AI, February 8th on France 24.
Your stories inspire the future. Your daily lives create the news. Your cultures, struggles, and successes are at the heart of our programs. We tell the stories of those who made our planet and those who are building it. We tell the story of the world, shaped by the lives of those who live there.
Liberté, égalité, actualité.